Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Fantasy and Facts. We are your hosts, Jay, and I got Ty on the line here. What's going
How,
on, Ty?
how you doing, Jay? How you doing, Jay? I'm ready to talk some fantasy.
Yeah,
How about you?
man. This football season back up. We ready to go. How's the off season for you?
Just studying and hoping I win some more money this year.
Yeah, man. I mean, for those who don't know, Ty and I we both are in the same. We're in a very competitive league for the most part. It's kind of like a PPR mixed with a standard scoring. So you do get a little bit of everything. It's a two quarterback league. It's pretty crazy. We'll get into that later on, but pretty much this is a brand new podcast we're starting here. Very first episode. Pretty excited we starting this. Appreciate you guys for tuning in right now. And all this is we call it fantasy and facts because all we're giving you is facts about your fantasy team and fantasy players. I mean, some of it is opinionated, but for the most part, we giving you what you need to succeed this season. So once again, thanks you guys for listening. I'm Jay. I've been playing fantasy for about 6 years here in a bunch of different leagues. I've won maybe three or four titles in that span with different leagues. And these are all paid leagues too, so these aren't like any leagues where people are just signing up and not updating their teams or anything like that. It's pretty competitive. But yeah, I love football. Played some football when I was younger. Just love the sport. You know what these guys do on a daily basis, kind of just makes you appreciate the sport. So I mean that's me. Ty, why don't you go ahead and tell them a little bit about your past and your how you got into the fantasy and things like that.
Well, yeah, you basically hit everything, Jay. Starting from a young boy, I love sports, love football, played football. Actually, watch football as a hobby and as like a religion almost. Um, what you did leave out was part of the fantasy. We are not sharks, but we do win money in leagues.
Yeah,
We do
I
we
know
do
that's right.
we do give great opinions, but for these listeners, we want to make this fantasy podcast as simple as possible for anybody to listen, can use it and use our advice, use our opinions to win money in their league or do better in the league, whether you're a first timer, whether you're a seasoned vet, whether you're a female, whether you want to impress your boyfriend, whether you want to impress your girlfriend,
Right.
whether you want to just impress your father and show him that you know a little bit more about fantasy than you have in the past, we can help you out. Um, we also can give you weekly predictions on gambling. Jay gambles a lot, I gamble a little bit, and we
Don't
win and
tell don't
lose.
tell everybody that now. Don't.
We win and we lose money, but we mostly win, and we want to help you win money because key to fantasy is about being competitive and maybe winning money. Whether it's your daily fantasy like DraftKings
Right.
or FanDuel, or if you're in a Yahoo ESPN league or Dynasty leagues, best ball leagues, we can help you out. We have experience in all of them. Um, like Jay told you, we are in a league together, but we are in a league apart from each other too. We play in several leagues. I mean, sometimes I look on my phone. I have three ESPN leagues. I have three Yahoo leagues. Um,
Right. And bragging rights too. Don't forget about that. That's the
Bragging
main.
rights,
Yeah, that's the main
especially
thing most of us play fantasy.
with your friends. You want to have those bragging rights so
Right.
you can talk the mess.
All right. Thanks for that, man. So yeah, pretty much we're starting off a series. We break everything down in a series and for this series we're starting is going to be for the draft. A lot of you have maybe heard of some of the big names that have been drafted. What we're doing in this series is pretty much breaking down these big names and kind of explaining to you guys what we think is going to how they're going to contribute to their teams and the impact that they'll have this season and maybe further on. So got some good stuff for you today. So we're doing this series in rounds. So first round is today. Next week we'll start talking about the second round and then so on and so forth till we get to the seventh, and then we actually get into the good stuff, which is preseason and Hall of Fame game, all those different things. So definitely stay with us. We got some good information we want to share with you guys, and we'd love any feedback you give. So definitely share that with us. Um, Anything you wanna add on that, Ty, before we get started?
Yeah, yeah. Just remember, we're talking about rookies, but it's very unlikely that a rookie will produce every year like
Good
Zeke
point.
Elliott did last year. I mean, if you think about wide receivers of the past, only the good wide receivers produce are the good wide receivers that are put in great positions. You got to remember, Randy Moss broke a lot of rookie records because he had Chris Carter and Jake Reed, and also Randall Cunningham throwing him the ball his rookie year. He
Very good
learned
point.
he learned how to practice and everything he could from Chris Carter. Then you got other rookies who can come in and have impact like a Des Bryant, but that's not going to happen every year. And the rookies we're talking about today are going to have an impact, but not as big as the fantasy impact. So you might want to take these rookies in consideration for dynasty and save them on your dynasty roster until they do perform for you down the road in a couple of years, especially at the tight end position. No tight end is going to come in the league and as a rookie and perform unless you're maybe Jimmy Graham playing for Drew Brees, and of course Drew
Right.
Brees is just a great quarterback, and he makes everybody look good. I mean,
Absolutely.
so take this into consideration. Rookies are gonna win you some weeks and gonna lose you some weeks. Just know
You gotta
which
roll
weeks you
with the
want to play them
punches.
on, and you gotta take the good with the bad.
Yeah. I appreciate that. But yeah, so we're pretty much breaking this down into different positions. So we'll start off with the quarterbacks. We'll take a quarterback from the first round, both I and Ty, and then running backs. Then we'll go right into receivers, tight ends, and then we actually end it with a little treat for you guys. We got defensive players, so we both were going to choose a first round defensive player that was drafted and
Maybe
kind of
if you're
talk
playing,
about them a little bit.
maybe if you're playing an IDP league, those defensive rookies probably can help you better than some of these offensive rookies that we're going to be talking about. Because those
Right.
IDP leagues are very competitive and a lot different from your regular fantasy football league.
Right. And for those who don't know, IDP, individual defensive player, if you guys play in those kind of leagues, I definitely recommend it if you don't. It's adds that extra layer of strategy and competitiveness, so definitely look into that if you don't.
And not only that, I've won several leagues using IDP players because a lot of people put uh how do you say, not a lot of people think about how well they should strategize on using the IDP players. They just go for the biggest name they know, and
Right.
the biggest name they know don't add up to the point. So you have to know your league, know the scoring situations, knowing if this one linebacker gets a lot of tackles and tackles is not the highest scoring, maybe you need to go for the person who gets the sacks because the sacks is the highest scoring in your league. So
Right.
put
Good
that in
point.
consideration too.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, so hope you guys enjoy the show. We'll go ahead and get started in the topics here. So for quarterbacks, we're starting off here with quarterbacks. I actually have Deshaun Watson from Clemson. I'm sure most of you guys have heard of this name. Houston Texans rookie quarterback, 6'3", 220. Um, I mean, all I can say about this guy is, he's got that mentality. There's some news that came out about him recently. DeAndre Hopkins, starting wide receiver for the Texans, actually said that he has it mentally, and I quote, he has it mentally. So I'm thinking this could be the Dak Prescott of maybe 2017 if the cards play out right. You got Tom Savage that's ahead of him right now. Bill O'Brien is saying that he's going to be the starter, and it's really his job to lose. But I mean, Deshaun Watson, when you think about it, the way that offense is molded, it kind of fits Deshaun Watson a little bit better than I would say Tom Savage. Um, you got a lot of Mariota comparisons. People comparing him to Marcus Mariota from Tennessee. I could see it. Maybe not as accurate as Mariota is, but he's definitely up there. He had 9 rushing touchdowns in 2016 at Clemson. That's another thing to keep in mind when you got a mobile quarterback. Um, it's a good and a bad at sometimes, because you have your quarterback where he can take one hit and his season is pretty much over, right? Or he can score a bunch of touchdowns for you through the air and on the ground. So definitely want to maybe keep that in mind. And he's another good thing about him. He throws on the move. which Tom Savage probably doesn't do as well. So think about Will Fuller and Hopkins. Um, that's their dream, right? You get a guy that can buy a little extra time. You got Hopkins, who's got one of the most amazing hands in the game right now. You got Will Fuller, deep threat. So buying that extra time, that's definitely going to help them out a little bit. And what I notice is on the deep balls, he can buy time with his feet. Um, rolling outside, just like I said. And one concern for me though is the 30 interceptions that he threw at Clemson. And I kind of watched some video on him. Everything can't just be highlights. So I watched some video on him, and I kind of caught him. I see he stares his receivers down sometimes, which, obviously he's, coming from college. You especially at Clemson D1 school, you got a bunch of, top guys, and you're one of the best players in the game. So you can get away with it. But at this level, you definitely gotta buckle down and make sure you're understanding your reads and looking off safeties, things like that. So I think he can definitely do it. And
I think at Clemson he lived off of, his talent and the offensive system that was put in place for him. I think he's gonna struggle a little bit here in the NFL because it's not Bill O'Brien is not running that spread offense, and you're playing NFL defenses that know how to stop the spread offenses. I mean, you see it in Kaepernick, you see it in Tyrod Taylor, who I compare Deshaun Watson to is Tyrod Taylor. Um,
okay,
I think Deshaun Watson got drafted first round because the last game they see him play was him winning the national championship,
right.
just like Vince Young. And we know what happened to Vince Young after his rookie.
Oh man, we ain't gonna go there though. We ain't gonna go there.
I mean, I think this is the best. I think this first year for Watson is his best bet to make the impact. I don't think he's going to improve too much other than maybe being a backup quarterback after this year because I don't think Bill O'Brien has the time. And if he gets fired, the next coach
Yeah,
and general manager that comes in, they're not going to go out there with Deshaun Watson.
that's definitely a good point.
I think he's gonna get the opportunity. Can he stay healthy, or can he be like RG3? Um, I like I said, I compare him to Tyrod Taylor at Buffalo.
Right,
Tyrod Taylor is a decent fantasy quarterback. Actually, he's top 10 fantasy quarterback every year, but they don't go to the playoffs every year.
right.
So Bill O'Brien needs to win games. He can't afford to stick with a Tyrod Taylor type of quarterback who can run and throw for 300 yards against the Pats and still lose 42-17. He has to have that quarterback that can maybe be like Cam was his first year, but Cam is a different beast.
That is true. That is true. So let me ask you a question, Ty. Who you think if all the cards play out the way that I envision it, where Deshaun could probably steal the starting job from Tom Savage. Who do you think becomes his favorite target out of all the weapons he has in Houston?
Normally, rookie quarterbacks love to throw to the tight ends, and even when Cam was a rookie, Greg Olsen made a living off of Cam throwing
Yeah.
him the ball. So you would maybe think of C.J. Fedorowicz.
Okay.
Um, Usually, rookie quarterbacks don't like to throw the ball to the number one receivers because guess what? That number one receiver looks covered by the number one cornerback on the opposing team. We had an issue last year with Dak Prescott throwing more to Cole Beasley, throwing more to the tight ends than he did Des Bryant for a little period of the time because they didn't have
Yeah.
that chemistry yet that Tony Romo and Dez have, where he can just throw back shoulder or throw the fade and know that Dez is gonna get it and be confident in doing it. I mean, we know DeAndre Hopkins can go up there and get the ball from any corner, but is Watson gonna be confident enough to throw that back shoulder or throw that fade while he is covered? And in that division right now, if you think about it, they probably have the best corners that they're going to be playing against out of any other division. You have AJ Boye, who was rated the number one corner or two corner last year in the league. He got a big contract from Jacksonville. And on the opposite side of him is Jalen Ramsey, who was the number 4 pick last year,
Yeah.
who had a decent year last year. And Jacksonville does play a lot of zone, but they can go man to man with any wide receiver corps in the league. I mean, AJ Boye was DeAndre Hopkins' teammate last year, so I'm
Mm.
sure he played him a lot in practice. I'm sure he's seen and knows what he can do. But AJ Boye is a top cornerback in this league, and they have to play them twice. Not only do they have to play Jacksonville, but they have to also see the Titans, who I think is going to have an improving defense. And then you got the coach with Vontae Davis, who will be on DeAndre Hopkins probably the whole game, and if I'm watching, I'm not throwing it over there too often.
Right.
I mean, it's different between Antonio Brown versus Vontae Davis when Big Ben is your quarterback, and you can maybe go for 3 touchdowns and a half on Thanksgiving, but we're not gonna.
Oh man, yeah, great points that you just made. Definitely a work in progress with any rookie, of course. But go ahead and tell us a little bit about Patrick Mahomes, which is your first round quarterback that you from Kansas City.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes. He's the son of a pitcher. His father, Patrick Mahomes, was a pitcher in Major League. He played for a lot of teams, the Marlins, Yankees, just to name a few. And he's come up with a lot of training throughout his life. As you know, he played in the best of the best Optimist leagues, and he went to the best schools where he was trained to be this quarterback. He chose to go to college at Texas Tech, where they pass a lot. Let's just put it like that. They passed almost every other play, whether it's a swing pass or a bubble screen or uh, normal passing routes. Patrick Mahomes, he was the best quarterback in this draft, in my opinion.
Mm,
Just by seeing his arm strength, seeing how he throws on the run, seeing he can make plays, and it looks like he has that it factor.
right.
Uh, Something he reminds me of Kaepernick with the confidence, and that's what you need at that quarterback. I mean, he looks like he can go out there and throw 5 interceptions and 5 touchdowns, and he won't have his head down.
Right.
I mean, depression won't be an issue for him. He just keep going. And with these rookies, like we just mentioned, it's all about the situation. When you're put in a good situation to win, um, you can hide some of your flaws
True.
for a little while. I mean, we've seen it in the past with RG3, his rookie year. Mike Shanahan hit his flaws, and now you got Pat Mahomes backing up, being a backup quarterback for a Pro Bowl quarterback, Alex Smith, going to a winning team in the Kansas City Chiefs for a head coach that is known to make quarterbacks into something.
Mm,
Uh, he had Kevin Cobb with the Eagles. Kevin Cobb got paid from Buffalo, got a lot of money. He had Nick Foles, made Nick Foles a lot of money. He turned back the clock on Michael Vick when Michael Vick got out of jail.
yeah.
Uh, I mean, I remember one game he had Vince Young as his third QB, and Vince Young threw for almost 400 yards in a losing effort, but 400 yards is 400 yards,
Right.
and that's all that matters in fantasy. I think if the Chiefs, who have a lot of rebuilding to do on offense this year, since their salary cap is in a bad situation, if they start off bad and they need a little boost, I don't doubt you see Patrick Mahomes because I think he can spark this offense rather than the dump it off to the running back or 5 yard out to the tight end that Alex Smith is going to do. I think Patrick Mahomes can challenge you downfield to Tyreek Hill or to Chris Conley, who I like, the wide receiver out of Georgia.
Mm,
Um, and then you have Travis Kelsey, who's probably the best tight end in the league right now since Gronk's always hurt. I think Patrick Mahomes can come in, add that spark, and he can throw on the run, and he can, have the electrifying maybe 30-yard rushing touchdown on a scramble. So uh,
that's
he,
true. And I
he's a
think
go.
Jordan Reed might have something to say about that best tight end. in the league talking.
Yeah, yeah, but you got to remember, I did say stay healthy. I mean,
True.
if you look at Patrick Mahomes, a lot of people compare him already to Dak Prescott,
Yeah.
and Dak Prescott had that hit factor with good coaching behind him. He made things happen.
Right. Yeah, and me just looking at some of the highlights here on the video. I mean, he's definitely got the wheels to get out of the pocket, buy himself some time as Deshaun Watson did. Got a little bit of a bigger frame.
He's
Um,
6'2", 225.
yeah, got a bit of a bigger frame. So I definitely that's always a plus. You don't
And
have to worry about him going down.
not only that, Jay, they traded up to get him. It's
Yeah, so they
not
really
like,
wanted him,
yeah,
and that's
they
pretty much
targeted him
saying that's pretty much saying that he's going to be Alex Smith's successor one day.
one day.
Maybe sooner than later,
Exactly.
depending on how Alex Smith comes out this season. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to these two quarterbacks and seeing how they can contribute to their teams. You know, not only this season, if they contribute at all, but later on down the road.
And if you play in dynasty leagues, both quarterbacks are great picks to draft in dynasty rookie leagues. Redraft leagues, hold off on them unless you're in a real deep league where they won't take up a bench spot. But I do expect both of them to see playing time on the field this year. And I do expect Patrick Mahomes to maybe be the better of the two. But Deshaun Watson will have big games, will have bad games. I mean, the Texans, I don't expect to put up a lot of points, but Deshaun Watson can get you 60 yards rushing with a two passing TDs. That's a good day.
Definitely, definitely. All right. Well, yeah. Now we'll go ahead and go start going into the running backs. Thanks for that, Ty. So first round running backs, we got a bunch of big names here. So for me, I'm gonna go ahead and dissect a little bit of Leonard Fournette, one of the biggest names right now. Everyone's talking about. You know, you got that big physical, burling running back that all the GMs dream for. They can have on their roster. That bell cow you can just hand it to 30 times a game and still come out the next week and be productive. Um, Let me go ahead and pull up some video on him here. What do you think about Fournette?
Leonard Fournette is a big boy. He's a man. He is a man. I mean,
A grown
he's
man.
a grown man. Uh, I don't think he would have got drafted this early if Elliott didn't do what he did last year. Ezekiel Elliott, that being, didn't do what he did last year. I mean, we've seen the Heisman Trophy winner Derrick Henry get drafted second round, and in my opinion, Derrick Henry is a better running back than Leonard Fournette. Even though Leonard Fournette is a great back and will be good back in NFL. I don't think he would have went this early. I've seen a lot of Leonard Fournette playing because I watch a lot of SEC football. He's explosive. He's tough. He's hard to bring down. Um,
and he
he
finishes his runs.
he
That's a big thing.
he finishes his runs, and they actually ran a pro style offense at LSU. I mean, that's part of the reason why Les Miles got fired because he refused to change the offense, which was pro style. You know, that that 3 yards in a cloud of dust and let Leonard Fournette break off an 80-yard run on his fifth carry. Um, that's what I think Jacksonville wants to do. They improve their O line. They want to take the ball away from Blake Bortles on passing downs. You know, maybe give him a third and two or a third and five and make it easy plays for him. But Leonard Fournette can actually catch the ball out of the backfield too. They
Yeah,
didn't do that a lot in college, but he can do that. Um, I expect him to get a lot of carries this year. Uh,
absolutely. And my thing is he runs a 4.51 in the 40. 6 foot 240. Now that's almost like unheard of at this day and age, right? You
that's
got
like that's like trying to stop
a
a
train.
car. Oh no. Actually, if you want to really compare it, it's like trying to stop a go kart going like 40 miles an hour.
Not happening, right?
Not
And
happening.
and the thing with him, he was actually the number one high school recruit and Offensive Player of the Year. So he's not just some guy that came out of nowhere. Everyone has been raving about him, and people are actually comparing him to Bo Jackson, which is, some pretty high praise from a rookie. And here's the thing with me, because I'm looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars running back situation. You got Yeldon, who they drafted pretty high a couple years ago, and then you have Ivory, who turned 29 in March, so he probably won't be much of a factor for him, especially after the disappointing season he had last year. And then you have Denard Robinson, who's pretty much really just a change of pace back, right? Like you're not gonna take
Yeah,
Fournette off the field, um, for a whole series to get any of these guys that I just named in there. So you drafted him for a reason this high, and you expect him to play and produce in his first season. Um, Another thing with me is, I think the running game is back in Jacksonville. So they haven't really had one really since Maurice Jones-Drew, I would say. You agree?
since Drew was a great running back in fantasy for a little bit of time. Uh, he didn't last long because he was only 5'8", like 220. He couldn't take a lot of pounding. Got a lot of injuries, and that's what I hate to see about people or running backs going to Jacksonville and just being on offense with a bad quarterback. I mean, if Leonard Fournette was to get drafted by, let's say, the Green Bay Packers, I would pick him over Elliott in any fantasy draft this year.
Absolutely.
I mean, being that he's going to Jacksonville and they took him so high, Tom Coughlin has to prove himself as being the president of the team right now. Uh, they're just going to run him to the ground. I mean, we already went over the defenses that are in his division, and
Yeah, pretty tough defenses, and but I'm curious to see what the Jacksonville offense looks like this season. As I'm sure everyone is, just because of all these key additions. You got, Blake Bortles. They're talking about he's been working on his mechanics, so definitely a big question mark out of Jacksonville this year. I wouldn't recommend really, overreaching for anyone in that offense, just because there's that uncertainty, with the new coaching and all that. So definitely, definitely be cautious with that. But
right now, right now, I think Leonard Fournette's ADP average draft position in redraft leagues is
I think
like
it's going to like the second round,
second round, first or
early
second
second
picking.
round. Yeah,
Yes. So I
yeah,
mean, he right there. Being that we're limited at running backs, he's worth it. And in dynasty leagues, you have to think about drafting him number two, right behind Corey Davis. I mean, in dynasty rookie draft. So he's he's his best ability is availability right now.
absolutely, absolutely. And a question for you: so over or under touchdowns this year for Leonard Fournette? I got it set at 10. What do you think?
I would say 6 or 7.
Okay.
I would say
That's
that
that's pretty
because
light there. You are expecting a really big year from him.
how much do they get in how much do they get in the red zone? That'd be
That's a good.
I was reading online today. Jacksonville held the lead in the second half. The last 7 games after they fired their coach, like 6 or 7 times they had a lead in the third quarter and they lost it.
Man,
So that means they weren't scoring enough points. And that they don't, considering that Blake Bortles doesn't improve, that means their kicker might be kicking a lot of field goals.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, hopefully Leonard Fournette changes that. Hopefully, holding on to a lead that gets to run the ball, run a little bit more clock when they get the chance to. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's talk about your first round pick that you got here, Ty. Christian McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey, the son of Ed McCaffrey, the former Denver Bronco. Christian McCaffrey is a smart kid, went to Stanford. He's also a very shifty kid. He's not very fast. He's very shifty, very quick. He can return punts. He can return kicks. Um, he can also catch. Probably is the best or one of the best pass catcher rookie running backs that can catch the ball in this draft. I mean, I compare him. I know Jay's not gonna like this, but I compare him to Duke Johnson.
Oh.
I
Oh
mean,
man.
Duke Johnson is also, well, Cleveland doesn't use him like this, but he also is very shifty, can return punts, can return kicks, but he's a great pass catcher. I
Yeah.
mean, at Stanford, they run a pro style offense, and Christian McCaffrey was the featured back.
Right.
He ran I form, he ran through between the tackles, and I just don't think he can last a full season doing that in the NFL. Um, Taking the big hits. I mean, we see people get concussions every week, and his little frame right now doesn't need to be taking that pounding. And
A
I
hundred.
doubt, I doubt the Panthers do that when they have James Stewart right there behind him.
Right, and that's probably how everyone's assuming they're going to use him. It's kind of just like that pass catch and roll, change the pace back, and have Jonathan Stewart as the grinder. Pretty much get him punched in the end zone, give him that threat.
And there's
Um,
and th- there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if he gets 20 yards receiving, and that equals out to 20 yards rushing.
100%. You do. It's the points still
Uh,
add up the same either way, right? And
yes.
but one of the things that kind of just really turns me off about Christian McCaffrey. Do you know how many times he put up a bench press in the combine?
How many?
10 times. That just doesn't do it for me.
And Adam Schefter did it 11. So, well, some schools, some colleges, they don't allow their players to bench press. They promote other activities to get the chest area strong. I'm not sure if Stanford is one of them, but I think like a college like Duke is, where they take the bench press out. I mean, there is one on campus, but not in the team facilities gym.
Right.
So, I mean,
I mean, but if
when
you want a bench, like you'll find time to do it, right?
yeah, yes. I mean, with a quickness like him, I don't expect him to be back there pass blocking
That's true.
and trying to run Luke Kuechly over.
Oh man. Yeah, but he's definitely gonna be a factor for him this year. Especially why I think that's the reason why they took him so high. They definitely needed someone to help out Cam a little bit because he's taking a beating back there. And he's just not having fun with football anymore. So you definitely get a guy like McCaffrey to get some of that pressure off him. Get you some quick running back screens and things like that to get some points on the board and some first downs. So I'm definitely looking forward to him on that.
Do you think Cam can get him the ball out of the backfield? We never seen Cam be the type of dump off quarterbacks. I mean, the great quarterbacks do it. Tom Brady, the Drew Brees, they dump off to the running back, and they on 1st and 10 they let the running back get 7 yards off of dump off. Do you think Cam can do that? Cam is known as play action. Let's wait for
Yeah.
my receivers to get deep, or I'll just throw it to Greg Olsen.
Right. Yeah, and I think Cam is at the point in his career now. What is he? He's turning like 28, 27, something like that. So he's definitely at that point in his career now. He realized he can't take these hits that he's been taking. Like especially, I cringed a couple times when I watched that opening game last year against Denver. I mean, they were just teeing off on him, like headshots and everything. So he's definitely realized he can't take these kind of shots. And I think Ron Rivera and the whole coaching staff there in Carolina, they do a good job of adjusting the offense to kind of get the ball out of his hands a little quicker and helping him out. So that's definitely something to look forward to.
Yeah, and as we're talking about Christian McCaffrey, he's actually going a little bit after Leonard Fournette. He's actually like early third round in a 12-team league, so a lot of rookie running backs you're going to see going early in your drafts.
Yeah, don't fall for the trap. I'm telling you guys. You
Rookies do
just
not do good first year.
exactly. I would say let someone else make that mistake, and maybe you can come up in free agency, if anything. But definitely don't make that mistake reaching for these guys. I know everyone's talking about them, and I know after preseason everyone will still be, they'll probably be even more hyped up. But remember, they're going against guys that are fighting for jobs that aren't really
Oh,
starters.
all it takes is the first big run from McCaffrey, and his ADP will skyrocket. He'd probably be middle second round. I remember a couple of years ago, Amir Abdullah from Nebraska made that big
Yeah.
run in preseason, and his ADP skyrocketed. So
Yeah, they were calling him the next Barry Sanders.
yes, yes.
So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, thanks for that. And why don't you we'll go ahead and go on to the next group of the next position group, which
Wide
is going to be
receivers.
wide receivers. So as you see here, I have John Ross, the amazing John Ross, breaking 40 time records. He's living in life right now, and he's getting paid because of his speed, pretty much, right?
Yes.
So that 4.22 broke Chris Johnson's 4.24 record that's been holding for a couple years. I mean, like you said, the kid's fast, right? You can't deny it. You see what speed can do in
You
the
can't
game of the NFL. So
you can't teach speed.
exactly. But here's my thing though. You got this speed, this rookie wide receiver that's fast, 5'11", 188 pounds, almost similar to like I would say Tavon Austin maybe. Um, but here's the thing: most people are forgetting about the all the mouths that has to be fed in Cincinnati. So you got Tyler Boyd, who they just spent the second round pick on last year. Very good hands, very reliable receiver for Andy Dalton. And you still have Brandon LaFell, who is getting paid 3.3 million guaranteed this year. So he's definitely not going anywhere. You're not gonna, put a rookie to overtake him unless he just does something drastic. And then of course you got Tyler Eifert, one of the top tight ends in the game today, who is also maybe we will say top two targets for Andy Dalton behind AJ Green. Um, so I don't really see how he can explode this year. I mean, he's definitely got the speed. I see him excelling on special teams. That's where a lot of people are missing this at. I think he can easily take maybe four kickoffs or I'll say four kickoffs and punt returns combined. I feel like that's a decent number for him for touchdowns this year. I don't see much of a contribution on offense. I mean, maybe he gets a couple end arounds, he gets some yards, but when it gets down in the red zone, it's either AJ Green, it's either going to maybe Joe Mixon, who knows, or maybe they get they're also getting um help me out here, Ty. What's the running back?
Oh, Giovanni Bernard.
Bernard. Yeah, they're also
Yeah.
getting him back from the knee injury. So there's a lot of mouths to feed in Cincinnati. So
Well,
definitely
well, I disagree with you here, Jay. I don't think there are a lot of mouths to feed in Cincinnati. We've seen games where Andy Dalton can go off and throw for four touchdowns, and we've seen games where he can have zero. I mean, every time I see Andy Dalton play Pittsburgh, I sit him because Pittsburgh just knows him very well. I consider them drafting John Ross so early in the first round as a way to say, you know what, let's go for it. We don't. If we see the Patriots in the playoffs, if they're lucky to get there, we have to have the weapons around us to put up the points. We cannot go in there and put up 14 points while the Patriots are putting up 35. We have to have the explosiveness. We have to have the offensive weapons. We have to have the speed to put up the points. If we're gonna do it, they gave Andy Dalton money. They gave AJ Green money. They also went out and, like you said, they got Mixon early in the third round, who will help the offense. I think John Ross is just like getting a star in the NBA, another star to take the pressure off him. Not saying John Ross is a star, but when you put him over there and he sees the number two cornerback on him, and you have AJ Green over there with the safety, safety has to choose now. Who is
right,
going to go, AJ Green, or he's going to consider John Ross? And AJ Green can beat any double team.
right.
And then, like you said, Tyler Eifert. Tyler Eifert will eat up the middle. Uh, Brandon LaFell, unless somebody gets hurt, he's probably a non-factor. Then you got Tyler Boyd, who did great out the slot. I expect to see him to play a lot more in the slot this year because he did so well last year. Um, I think Andy Dalton is just going to be happy with the weapons he has this year. I don't expect John Ross to be a red zone threat like you said because speed is very limited within the 20, and that's the red zone.
Exactly.
He has limited space to beat the corner in, and they play zones, and he's not really an over the middle threat. Haven't seen yet. Even in college, he wasn't an over the middle threat. But they don't
Right.
need him. They need him to be the decoy, so AJ Green can have maybe his best year before he gets too old.
Absolutely, and I'm not disagreeing with you that he doesn't have that playmaking ability. He definitely had the 23 touchdowns on only 112 touches in college, so that's that's saying something there. You scoring on 20% of the time you touch the ball, you're scoring a touchdown. That's pretty impressive. Pretty much I compare it to maybe Tyreek Hill, that speedy back that can catch the
Mike Wallace.
Mike
He's more of a
Wallace.
Mike Wallace, uh, a younger Mike Wallace. Mike Wallace was always a deep threat in Pittsburgh. Then when he left, he figured out how to run a couple of slants and outs, and I think that's going to be John Ross. I mean, you look at Arizona. If Larry Fitzgerald was getting old, they put speed around him and still made him the the vocal point of the offense.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what about the injury concerns? So he had surgery on both knees and his shoulder in college. So right meniscus and left ACL. So that's a big concern there also. Can he play a full season? Um, definitely wanna make sure you have someone on your team that you're not worried about playing week to week. So that's another concern with him. One question for you: do you think he ends up with more receptions than Tyler Boyd this year?
No, I would say John Ross. He maybe gets 40 receptions for like 800 yards if he can stay healthy and Andy Dalton can get him the ball. Um, and then I think you're just saying receptions. I think Tyler Boyd is going to get a lot of those 3rd and 5 and 3rd and 6. As far as more fantasy value, you have to take the chance on John Ross because one play that the safety chooses to go to AJ Green and John Ross is run down the sideline for a 70-yard bomb, maybe like a Deshaun Jackson type player, you're gonna be boom or bust.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's one of those players I kind of stay away from those boomer bust players. Like I kind of go for more consistency. You know what I mean? Like
Consistency, yes.
yeah, so players that I know get targets, players that I know are one of the quarterback's top two receivers. Um, this is one of those question marks, but we don't really know yet, right? Obviously, because they're all rookies, we don't really know about any of these people. But based on history and the size and offense, we really don't know what we're gonna get. But let's go ahead and talk about Corey Davis a little bit here.
All right, Corey Davis, he's from Western Michigan. Uh, he's, in my opinion, he's the best wide receiver in this year's draft. I know a lot of people
I
like Mike
agree.
Williams, who we didn't talk about, and I know a lot of people see the speed of John Ross. But Corey Davis reminds me of maybe a T.O. or you would say maybe Roddy White. Uh, he's very polished. Uh, I think he missed the combine to help himself out a little bit. So I think he faked his injury or, exaggerated how bad it was a little bit to help his stock rise. Um, I think if he went to the combine, he would have hurt himself because he's not that fast.
Hmm.
I don't think his agility is that good, but he's a ball player. He can get you throw the ball up in the air and he's coming down with it. He's a great possession receiver. He doesn't drop a lot of balls. He actually probably drops no balls at all. And I don't think in NFL he's gonna be breaking a lot of deep passes like we was watching on this highlight. But he is in a good situation. Maybe a too much crowded of a situation.
Absolutely.
Now that they signed Tennessee Titans have signed Eric Decker, and and there are the Titans is a running team, probably the best running team in the league, and they're going to continue to run. And you said Cincinnati had a lot of mouth to feed. When you look at the Tennessee Titans, Rashard Matthews, good sized contract, second year of it, had a great year last year. He's still there. Then you have Eric Decker, who just signed. Then you have Delaney Walker, who had a great
All
first
star.
great first half of the year last year. They also drafted a tight end, Jonu Smith, who's supposed to be another bigger version of Delaney Walker. Uh, then one of my favorite players in this draft, who we'll talk about another day, Taywan Taylor. It's probably going to win the slot spot.
Mm.
And Richard Matthews, Eric Decker, and Corey Davis are not really the shifty slot receivers, which Taywan Taylor is. But if you're doing a dynasty draft, you would have to go with Corey Davis right now, just because he probably going to bring you the best upside. In redrafts, I would have to draft Rashard Matthews and Eric Decker in front of him, and just wait. Only if you're in the deepest of the league. If you're in a smaller league, wait till you see and start hearing things about him before you pick him up, because he showed that he's injury prone and he's not the best.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I agree. He's definitely looks like he's got that build. He's got that, the route running is there. He can create that separation. And, like you were saying, there's a bunch of mouths to feed in Tennessee. Um, we definitely don't want to forget about Tajay Sharp. Looks like they're kind of running him out of town. They're pretty disappointing season last year, so this is kind of their fixer upper right here. So they're kind of putting him in here to take that place. And Tajay Sharp got some really good playing time last year. Like he was playing over 50% of the snaps most games. So that's if he takes over that role, you definitely want to. This might be one player that you might want to keep an eye on.
I seen Tarjay Sharp, excuse me. Yes, it seems like he's going to be the odd man out, but I think last year the fantasy world and beat writers for the Titans hyped him up more than the coaches did, which is not his fault.
Right.
So they might probably expected too much from him last year, and they shouldn't have, since he was a rookie. Uh, so maybe if they do release him, keep an eye on him for another team to pick him up, because he does have talent.
Absolutely, absolutely.